Hello, I'm Jimmy, and this is my Week 7 discussion board response video. This week we read Assorted Poems by Langston Hughes, The Man Who Was Almost a Man by Richard Wright, and Trifles by Susan Glassbell. We were asked what trends we saw in the readings this week, and also we were asked how modernism and modernist thought was influencing American literature at the time. In Trifles, Mrs. Wright killed her husband because she was unhappy with how he was treating her. He wasn't very loving to her, and he killed her bird, which sang and she loved. She was obviously a woman who was tired of putting up with all that she had to deal with her husband, and him killing the bird sent her over the edge. Mr. Wright probably had it coming, and Mrs. Wright was trapped in the marriage because in that time period there wasn't a lot of divorces. For these reasons, she ended up murdering her husband. This was telling of the time period in which it was written, about 1920. Not that women were murdering their husbands, but that women were tired of putting up with unequal treatment and rights and were finally starting to protest for a change. In The Man Who Was Almost a Man, Dave is the son of a poor black family who were not slaves but couldn't really make enough money to be anything other than plantation workers. Dave is 17 and only has the education of a modern second grader or thereabouts. He is a laborer on a close-by plantation, and his meager wages are sent directly to his stay-at-home mother to manage. His dad is unforgiving yet fair. His dad is obviously a respectable person, and he is unwilling to let his son lie to him or anyone else because he stands by his word. For some reason, Dave is picked on by other bigger black workers on the farm. The bullying is getting to him, and he decided he was going to get a gun because if he had a gun, they would think twice about messing with him. Dave goes to the local store and ends up finding out about a great deal from the shop owner. He goes home and convinces his mom to give him the money, but she said it was for his father, not for him. When he gets the gun, he doesn't take it back to his mother. He ends up taking it to work the next day, having never before fired a gun or used a gun in his life. His working companion was a mule named Jenny. She was around when he decided to bring the gun out for a test fire. He's so scared of the gun that he closes his eyes and turns away before he pulls the trigger. The mule takes off running, and his hand and ears hurt so much he doesn't go straight to get her back. When he finally goes to get her, he realizes she is bleeding, and in fact, he has unintentionally shot her. She dies slowly, and he has no clue what to do, so he buries the gun and makes up a lie about how she died from the plow, injuring her instead of him. When his parents arrive, along with a large crowd that had gathered because of the mule's death, his mom and dad instantly make him tell the truth in front of everyone, and as a punishment, the owner of the mule says he has to pay back the value of the mule, which ended up being $50, and the gun was only $2. After he finds this out, he is taken back home, but he can't sleep, so he sneaks back to claim the gun. He decided he wasn't afraid to shoot the gun, and he wasn't afraid of what would happen as a result, so he shot the rest of the bullets, and he felt brave enough to continue. He was going to take a shot at the owner's house, but he didn't have any more bullets. He hops on a train and he leaves town. I would like to note that Richard Wright, the author, grew up as a poor African American in the times of the Jim Crow laws and other prejudices against African Americans, and I can see that he was writing about the things holding young African Americans back from living the lives they wanted to live. There was a lot holding Dave back. His education was minimal and not equal to what the whites were receiving. His only real skill was hard labor. He never really learned any other great trades, and his parents were partially relying on his money that he made to pay bills. I think that modernism showed us in these readings the desire for revolution. In The Man Who Was Almost a Man, we see Dave wishing to be more than just some bullied plantation worker. In the end, he faces his fear and seeks out a new adventure in some place new, without even a plan in mind. And in Trifles, we see a woman who is tired of her husband's mistreatment of her. She can't escape through divorce, so she escapes the only way she can, by killing him. She can't even be found guilty because the wives of the investigators hide the evidence. I feel that in both cases, the writings are examples of the minority group rising out of what society expects them to be. I believe that the writings are meant to empower the minority groups and fill them with hope that their future is getting brighter.